FunPlus promised us extensive changes to champion kits and faction tags at the beginning of this year, and they've already started making good on that with the changes to Arkham's Most Wanted, as well as many of the faction tags in the game. I've covered that in previous videos, but today I want to talk to you about some pending changes to Teen Titans. We've also got a video coming out pretty soon on the Bat family changes that are going to be coming down the pipeline, so be on the lookout for that one. I'll probably post it pretty soon after I post this one, but you might want to take a look at your roster right now because very soon these things are going to be changing. We've got 5 champions we're going to cover in this video in Teen Titans, but before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the new faction tag. If you're not already aware, they did change the faction tag for Teen Titans, and I think that'll be important as we look at some of these kits to try to understand kind of what their design direction is. So we'll jump into Starfire to do this, and let's take a look at Starfire's faction tag. So for Teen Titans, if you deploy 3, 4, or 5 Teen Titans champions, it will increase their physical damage dealt by a percentage and spiritual defense by a percentage for each buff they have, and it will stack up to a much higher percentage based on the amount of buffs that you're able to get into onto your team. But that spiritual defense piece is actually pretty key here because I think it's pretty obvious, and it will be to you once you see all of these kit changes, that they are trying to build Teen Titans as a true spiritual defense team, like basically a way to counter the current meta and all the crazy spiritual defense that is running amok. And I think that that actually bodes well for Nightwing, who is one of those win condition champions that we've talked about kind of falling off a little bit over the last few weeks. So probably some adjustments will be made to the tier list based on some of our findings as we get these changes into the game and test them out a little bit. So starting with Starfire's kit, we got a few changes here, just a couple of her main abilities. Her force talents for these abilities are going to stay the same as well, but a couple of things that are very significant changes here. So the energy absorption field, which is her ultimate, previously would reduce damage taken by all allies by a percentage with additional damage reduction for outsiders allies. And if she ults again while the ult is active, extra damage reduction would happen for all allies, and that would stack. Now, energy absorption field, or once the update hits, will reduce damage taken by all allies by a much larger percentage. Basically, if you look at it, they combined what you get for all allies and the outsiders into one, but it is not stackable. And then Teen Titans and Outsiders allies will gain a fairly large percentage of spiritual damage reduction, and that can stack up to 3 times. So it's going to be a massive amount of spiritual damage reduction on Starfire's ultimate now, and I think that's going to be pretty significant. Like, pretty much Starfire is going to be an auto include for anyone who's trying to deal with Sinestro, Constantine, and any of the other pesky spiritual damage dealers out there. Starbolts previously dealt spiritual damage and reduced enemy attack. It's going to continue to deal that same spiritual damage, but now instead of reducing the enemy attack, it's going to increase all allies' attack. And I think that's an interesting change. It's something that you'll see across all of these kits where they're basically prioritizing making increases or changes to your allies that are positive rather than negative debuffs or things like that on enemies. And also, if you think about this will be counted as a buff. So again, for Teen Titans, like the idea is to try to get as many buffs onto the team as possible. As you can see when we looked at the tag synergy for these champions. And then we have Precognition as the third ability here that's changing. It previously would increase Starfire's spiritual defense, and then it would also, Starfire would gain 5 static energy for each Outsider's ally present at the start of the battle. So essentially she would gain 5 energy at the beginning of the battle, because let's face it, you're probably not using Arsenal or Martian Manhunter with her prior to these changes. Precognition will now, at the start of the battle, each Outsiders or Teen Titans ally present will increase Starfire's energy gain by a percentage. So instead of just static energy, it's increasing energy gain, which means that like the rate over the course of the battle is going to be much, much higher. Instead of just getting 5 energy at the very start of the battle, which is really insignificant for her, she's going to just be taking turns a lot faster during the battle itself. So overall, I think Starfire is the most impactful change here, because she was already kind of broken anyway. Like, people were auto-including her in a lot of these whale comps, as we talked about in that top 8 teams video that I made recently. And now I think she's just going to be even more auto-include when you're going up against Sinestro and Constantine. Okay, so next up we have Cyborg. A small change here to his kit. The Scan Strike ultimate ability, previously he would increase physical damage taken by enemies, so it was a debuff by a percentage. And now Scan Strike is going to increase physical damage dealt by your allies by a percentage. So it's a significant change, because it's going to be another buff that will allow you to ramp up the damage dealt by champions like Nightwing, who are win condition champions for your Teen Titans team. I think this is going to be a positive change for Cyborg. I mean, it really kind of makes him just that much more of just kind of like a pure support champion. But that's where we're at with Cyborg's kit. All right, so the big change for Arsenal, previously his ultimate Rain of Destruction, he would shoot 9 different arrows, each dealing physical damage equal to a percentage of his attack to random enemies. And he's going to continue doing this, but the key distinction here is the first thing he's going to do when the ultimate goes off, he's going to increase all Teen Titans allies crit damage by a percentage, and then he fires the arrows off. So he's buffing himself before he shoots the arrows out. So there's a chance that, that damage that you inflict is actually going to end up being a crit, and it's going to do even more damage than what he's doing here. And also, it's worth mentioning that he's increasing all Teen Titans allies crit damage. So if you use him in like a pure Teen Titans, but you've got Nightwing in it, you will be helping him do a little bit more damage by using this. So, we're going to be talking about some Bat family changes, Batgirl and specifically. You're going to be you'll be interested in seeing what she's able to do, but I'll cover that in the Bat family video separately. Raven, she's got a couple of small changes to her kit as well, but I think fairly significant. Raven is a champion that we've seen kind of fall out of the meta recently with the introduction of Swamp Thing and some of these other champions that can do shields like Riddler and Queen Hippolyta. But I do think that this could, kind of change the calculus on whether or not you might want to include her depending on who you're going up against. So before the changes, her Demon's Flight ability would heal all allies in a circular area by a percentage of her attack. After the changes, Demon's Flight is going to heal allies in a circular area by the same amounts, and it's going to increase their spiritual defense by a pretty large percentage as well. So it's an additive change here. Then we have Dark Soul, where Raven's attack would increase by a percentage at the start of the battle. Now it's going to increase Raven's healing done by a percentage. And at the start of the battle, each Justice League Dark ally present is going to increase Raven's healing done by an even higher percentage. So, a little bit of synergy here with anyone you want to use her with, and then also some more synergy with Justice League Dark. So again, I think you'll have to kind of make a game time decision on whether you might want to replace Dr. Fate, for example, with Raven. So it's going to be like a game mode specific thing here. And finally, we have Donna Troy. Donna Troy, before the update, her Shield of Unity ability at the start of the battle, all Amazons and Teen Titans allies would gain a percentage of physical defense up. After the change, Shield of Unity at the start of the battle, all Amazon's allies will gain a percentage of defense up, and all Teen Titans allies will gain a percentage of spiritual defense up. So, you know, Donna's still going to be about the same usefulness in an Amazon's team as she was before. Nothing's changing there. But if you use Donna in a Teen Titans lineup, it really changes things, because you can think about this with the addition of the changes of Starfire's kit, where if you run Donna Troy and Starfire in a Teen Titans comp, it's going to make them really, really strong against spiritual defense. You know, ultimately, I still don't see Teen Titans being like a super meta team right now, because the only true win condition champion that they have that can stand up to everything else that's out in the meta is probably going to be Nightwing. There's just nobody else that can do enough damage in whatever comp you're trying to run where it's going to matter. I do think that it might make a lot of sense to try to run like a Teen Titans, like a 3-tag with, you know, some of the other comps that you can run out there. I'm definitely curious to see some testing around that. But, you know, ultimately, it's nice to see that they're putting some things into the game that are going to allow us to combat the spiritual damage meta and, you know, have like a true kind of round robin where multiple different teams could work depending on what you're going up against. Now, we will be covering all of the Bat Family champions in a future video. It's probably going to come pretty soon after this one. So let me know in the comments below what you think of the changes to these Teen Titan champions. Are you going to be more interested in trying to build this team up, or less interested in the future? If you like the video, hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. You'll get access to notifications anytime I put out new content on DC Dark Legion. And if not, I still hope to see you in the next video.